Start that clock.
No, not at the moment. He's now officially going live. Yes, you're okay.
Folks, once again, welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. I am your hoarse, numb, and lovable host, Ted Glover. With me are my usual gang of suspects, the founder, lead blogger, and numero uno honcho from the SB Nation Minnesota Vikings blog, the Daily Norseman, Christopher Gates. And as always, the Marshall Dillon to my Festus, Drew Bunning from VikingsReport.com. And in the background, Miss Kitty making it all happen, Ruby Toonces Bunning. Gentlemen, welcome to 7-1, boys.
Chris Gates, what do you think? Give me a smile, Chris. Come on.
This team is absolutely incapable of playing a normal football game. They can't do it. It doesn't happen for this team.
You're right. Not going to disagree. But this team is doing something so many past Minnesota Vikings teams haven't, and that is figuring out how to win when it counts. Good teams, I've said this, and I'll say it until I'm purple in the face. Good teams find ways to win on days when they're not very good. And for 8 games, the Minnesota Vikings haven't been very good. But week 1, they were pretty good against the Packers. Every other week, they have been very good for long stretches of the game. But by God, when it comes down to it, they figure out a way to win. Drew Bunning, just talk. Let's go. Let's roll this off.
I am fired up. Got the football going. Got my all my drinks here ready to go. We are, what's that, 7-1?
7-1.
I've been watching this team for 52 years. This is my 52nd year. Yes, I'm old. This is the hardest team I've ever been able to evaluate. I don't know what's going on. We'll get into it, and I'll ask you guys certain questions. I don't know if you have the answer to it, but when their backs are against the wall, when it was 17-7, that team last year, we lose those games. We lose all the time that way.
Yes, they do.
And they found another way to make up the difference. They just turned it on. They turned it on at the right time, made the crucial handful of plays down the line. And are they playing with fire? Yeah, by not playing complete games, you're always playing with fire. But at the end, what does it count on, Chris? What do you look at the end?
The final score.
That's right.
That's all you can look at.
And it's just,
record says you are, and it says we're 7-1. So it doesn't matter how you get there. It's the fact that you got there.
Yeah, and we can have a discussion maybe about that later, about the elephant in the room. Half the fan base think we suck, we're getting lucky, and then the other ones think we're good. So I am just fired up, Ted, because we've been on the crappy end of all these kind of games for so long.
Yes, we have.
They do figure it out. They came together on that Harrison Smith pick, and they took momentum right away from the Commanders and never gave it back.
All right, Chris, before I get your initial thoughts on the game, I want to mention a couple of things. Look, if you want to talk about this game, talk about the NFL in general, talk about a lot of stuff, go to purplepainforums.com. Purple Pain Forums, that's our official website of Vikings Report with Drew and Ted and Vikings Report Rewind. If you want to figure out what prize you may win today, because we're going to give away a prize because the Vikings are 7-1.
Yes.
Go to VikingsReport.com. Toonces did a great job of setting up that site. It's got links. If you want to buy a coffee mug, go to the Zazzle link there that Drew's holding up. If you want to check out what prize you may win, go to the Vikings Report prize vault. We got over 300 people watching the show right at this moment, so I want to say real quick,
welcome.
How can you win a prize? Because we're going to give away a prize at the end of the show. Just make a comment in the live chat. Just say hi, SKOL Vikes, whatever it is you want to say. Just make a comment, and Ruby is writing down the names and entering you into our Wheel of Toonces Destiny, as I like to call it. She's going to spin it at the end of the show, and the winner, you know what? I'm so happy we may give away 2 prizes.
We may do that, Ted Glover. We may do that. That just might be happening.
But go to VikingsReport.com, check out the prize vault. If you win, you're going to have to email Ruby at VikingsReportWithDrewandTed@gmail.com to get a hold of the link to actually pick your prize. So stay with us. If you make a comment, stay with us or hang out to the end of the show so to make sure you can collect your prize if you're a winner. All right, Chris, give me your initial thoughts on this team. My God, I went through, this week on Vikings Report, we did Anchorman, and there's this one scene where Ron Burgundy said he was in a glass case of emotion. How I felt for most of this game. Go, Chris, just talk. I'm done.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't understand the first drive of the game looks so good most weeks, and then the offense just kind of disappears for a couple of hours. And, when we need them to come back and do things, they come back and do things. I mean, they put up 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. You're getting Harrison Smith intercepting passes. One guy I want to give some serious praise for is a Caleb Evans. That guy came off the bench today after Cameron Dancer went out with an ankle injury, and he was everywhere.
Yes.
He was breaking up passes. He was making tackles for losses. He was just everywhere, man. So props to that guy. But I don't know what it is with this team where they just have these huge stretches where they just fall asleep and everything just stops working for a while. And they need to do something. And the screen game needs to be completely reevaluated.
Why do they keep doing that screen?
We haven't run a successful screen all year, I don't think. And we keep going back to it. But
I think the last time the Vikings ran a successful screen pass would have been 07, maybe 08, maybe 09 with Brett Favre. I don't know. I can't agree with you more on that. You're absolutely right. I'll tell you what. So let's go ahead and just kind of talk about this game. Kind of the big overarching themes coming into this game was offensive consistency, the defense playing better, and just what would happen with TJ Hawkinson. How would Ed Ingram perform? He's had a couple of slow weeks or a couple of subpar weeks. And on the first drive, fellas, it looked like the Vikings were just going to just come out, and they were on fire. They went 9 plays, 78 yards. TJ Hawkinson, who was traded to the Vikings on Tuesday, so he had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days to absorb the playbook, started on Sunday, makes a huge catch right out of the gate, 18 yards, big third down conversion, crucial that whole drive. JJ caught a 9-yard touchdown pass, and it was 7-0 Vikings. And then, we talk about complimentary football. Washington came out, they went 5 plays, had to punt, and you're like, wow, couldn't start much better for the Vikes.
Yeah, and then the rest of the game kind of happened because the offense didn't bother showing up for the rest of the first half. Basically,
we need to talk about that. That's something we've seen happen so many times with the Vikings. Scoring the first drive and then go into hibernation until the last drive of the half and maybe get a field goal. That's where they're making these games so tight, Chris. That's why these games, because they're wasting 6 or 7 drives with just awful plays.
Yep.
And they could be helping themselves a lot by at least putting together some drives. And if you don't get a touchdown, get a field goal. But they do this a lot. I mean, to the point where we scored today, Ted, I looked at Toots and said, watch, we won't score the rest of the half. I said that not because I'm being a smart ass, because that's what I'm used to seeing.
It's kind of become a trend. And if it happens maybe 1 or 2 games, that's one thing. I mean, look, and I don't think anybody expects the Minnesota Vikings to score on every single drive. This is not not the Ohio State fan base, for God's sake.
Oh.
I mean, I'm saying that in a derogatory way towards the Ohio State fan base. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look, there are some times when if you get pinned deep, if you can just get a couple of first downs, get out of the shadow of your own end zone, flip field position, I consider that a successful drive. And the Vikings did that a couple times in the first half today, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But at some point, you've got to start putting points on the board. And after that first drive, Chris, the Vikings offense felt like they could not get out of their own way for a multitude of reasons.
Right.
No, I don't know what the figures were for the drives between, the first drive and the last drive, where it looked like they were going to get themselves in a position to get some more points. But I can only imagine it was pretty ugly because there was 5 or 6 possessions in there and they all ended in punts, and it was awful.
Right.
I don't understand it.
So the second drive, the Vikes went 3 and out. Ed Ingram got beat bad on a Kirk sack, pinned the Vikings deep. Third drive, they got a first down, got out towards midfield, and they flipped the field. Fourth drive, got to midfield. Adam Thielen had a huge drop on second down that would have put the ball at the Washington 35-ish 40-yard line. And then went 3 and out. And then they had that drive, so they did nothing for like they had a touchdown. Then the next 4 drives, they really did nothing. And then that last drive right before halftime, they just turned the switch on and they got down and they had a chance to score a touchdown. And then Kirk threw an interception into the end zone. I really wish they'd I like the aggression. I mean, I'm cool with that. Don't get me wrong, but I think you have to protect the ball better to at least get points when you haven't done anything outside of that first drive in the first half.
No, I was not entirely pleased that, they didn't get points at the end of the first half there, obviously. I mean, but that Jefferson had a one-on-one situation and Kirk's been trying to get the ball to him in those situations all year. So I'm not super angry about the way the play went. But like you said, it would have been nice to get points there, but it didn't happen that way.
Drewster?
You know what I'm angry about? That idiot official who kept buying him from getting an interception. Get out of the way, dumbass! You're a dumbass. Get the hell out of the way. And then they get the reception on it. They were getting a lot of big lucky plays, but they were making the crucial handful of plays the first 3 quarters. And then the last quarter, the crucial handful we talk about, Ted, the Vikings made. But at that juncture, I was getting really frustrated. Remember the drive when Washington didn't convert on 4th down? It was 4th and 1 and they threw it?
Yes, at midfield, yeah.
The next 3 plays were a screen for -2, an incomplete pass, and then another incomplete pass when Cousins threw it at the feet of Dalvin Cook. And I was I looked at Toonses and I said, that's terrible. They look like they put these drives together. They look amazing. They're all in sequence. They're all in the same page. And then they have drives where they look like they've never played before together. And I think that's going to burn them in the long run, but it didn't hurt us again today. We dodged it again today. They have they leave a lot of plays out there, Ted, with just, those drives when you're going, what? What did we just do?
Yeah. Early on, the Vikings were running the ball a lot. I think they ran the ball on first down. I want to say, other than that last drive to end the half, I want to say they ran the ball on first down on every single drive. And it was okay. I mean, they were getting like 3 and 4 yards, which wasn't terrible. I mean, they weren't losing yards, which is fine. But they weren't getting, like 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5. And it just felt like the Vikings offense after that first drive was sort of playing from behind in terms of down and distance. You talk about having, staying at a manageable down and distance. And it just felt like the Vikings had a hard time on offense, at least doing that for a majority of the first half, Chris.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I like you said, the first down play calling was not great. I mean, they were getting yards here and there, but it's like Washington knew what was coming. I mean, and it wasn't that difficult to figure out. I mean, you hand it off on first down, like literally every play. I mean, it's, mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Drew, before I get to you, I want to mention again real quick, if you're just joining us, welcome to Vikings Report Rewind with Drew and Ted. We got a whole bunch of people in the chat room.
Welcome.
We're going to give away probably 2 prizes at the end of this show. So to be eligible to enter to win a prize, go ahead and just make a comment. Just say, hi, how's everybody doing? Or whatever your comment is in the live chat. Ruby will automatically enter you to win. We're going to spin the wheel of Toots' destiny at the end of the show twice because the Vikings are 7-1, all alone in first place in the NFC North. And Drew, they are lapping the field because I read from the comments earlier that both Green Bay and Chicago lost.
They did again?
Yes.
They have.
So the Lions beat Green Bay.
Fire that song up. Well, Vikings.
And I saw I don't know what the final score was, but I saw Aaron Rodgers had thrown 3 interceptions into the end zone, at least in the first half alone. So
did they really lose? They lost?
It was Detroit 15, Green Bay 9.
15 to 9? Are you serious?
Guys, is this our year? Is it? I know we're old school fans, so we know it's all going to fall apart at some time. But right now, it feels like shit is falling our way, bro.
It does, yeah.
I'm going to throw the challenge flag on it. This is the first time we've been 7-1 since Brett Favre was here.
And Miami had to hold off Chicago. That wound up being 35-32.
And I do believe the Jets beat the Bills.
They did. It was
so. I mean, like we talk about and before we get to the second half, and I want to talk about that play you mentioned earlier, where the ref just kind of squared in on Cam Bynum and took him out.
What an idiot!
Oh God, it was so aggravating.
What a dumbass.
Everybody talks about how the Vikings just kind of stink. They're like the most fraudulent 7-1 team in NFL history or whatever.
That deserves a discussion of its own.
It does. And if you look at the Vikings in a vacuum, you might say that, okay, sure, whatever. But if you look at the rest of the teams in the NFL, nobody is dominating anything. I know Philadelphia ended up winning on Thursday night, but for at least 40 minutes of football, they didn't look great. They looked eminently beatable. The Bills looked very beatable last Sunday night when they played Green Bay for the better part of 2 quarters, and then they lost to the Jets today. If the Minnesota Vikings can figure out why they can only score one time on offense in the first half, they can run with anybody in the NFL. I believe that to the depths of my soul.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, you can say they're a fraudulent 7-1 if you want to, but right now, given that the Bills lost, they're the only 7-1 team in the NFL, and the only team is better than them is the one that hung that one loss on them in Philadelphia. So,
can I throw something out there randomly right now?
Absolutely,
go for it.
How about touchdown Jesus Hawkinson today, guys? Get him up there. Let's go.
How about him? Here's the thing.
That's already an A+ trade.
What about that guy today? What a great first showing for Hawkinson.
I wrote this in my notes, or maybe I wrote it. I tweeted it out earlier. Without TJ Hawkinson, the Minnesota Vikings, I tweeted it out when it was 17-17 and the Vikings were driving and Hawkinson made yet another catch. When they were driving and he made that catch, I said, without TJ Hawkinson, the Vikings would be in no position to be able to win that game. None.
Nope.
I agree.
His impact was immediate, and it was today, and it was felt. And I think the Lions are going to regret that trade for many, many moons, and I'm cool with that.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Two practices, and you had 9 catches?
Yeah. What was the stats, Chris?
9 catches on 9 targets. So he literally caught every pass that came his way.
How many yards did he have?
70.
9 catches, 70 yards, and it felt like, other than there was one screen pass, I think that Nick
he had 3 passes that went for negative yardage.
You know what? Yeah. You notice when that guy catches a pass, he has a real gift for leveraging and screening off the defender. He can.
Yes.
He's like a basketball player getting a rebound or something. But when it went to him, I was very confident that there's no way he's going to drop it.
He made contested catches all afternoon.
What a great play.
Yeah, and it felt like now the Vikings finally have this absolute weapon in the middle of the field. Because I mean, other than those just goofy screen passes, one of them Nick Mullins threw after Kirk got hurt for that play. Hawkinson was catching stuff in the middle of the field where the Vikings were not making a lot of money on offense yet this year, for the most part. Am I wrong on that, Drew, or what? Or,
no, I think you said it best by saying I don't think we win that game either without Hawkinson.
No,
I do not think we win that game.
Hawkinson is what we've waited 3+ years for Irv Smith to turn into. And It hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen. And Irv Smith is probably done in Minnesota after this year. So Hawkinson's a nice get, obviously.
What a great trade. What a great
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's funny because like just a few days ago, Drew, you're saying, well, I don't know, we might have given up too much. Do you still think that?
No, give up. No, that's well, I also said he's one of the top 5 tight ends in the league. So I just didn't know he was going to get that much work on the first week, which shows that guy didn't come in and like go drink beer with the guys and raise a toast to being on the team. He studied all week.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that many snaps, Chris Gates and Ted Glover, unless you know the playbook. You're not.
Exactly. 100% correct. Yes.
That guy studied his nuts off and got in the game and made a big difference in, man, what What a good shot in the arm for the Vikings is in week 9, getting that guy.
You know what I liked more than his catches? The
What's
golden flowing locks coming from the back of his helmet as he caught the ball and headed upfield. Just majestic.
Touchdown Jesus. Touchdown Jesus.
I will say that I am disappointed that he didn't go with number 38. Just because if we're going to do the weird number thing, let's just do the weirdest numbers possible. Because and that's what he wore at Iowa. And obviously he can't have 88 because no Viking can have 88 again. So I was hoping he would go with 38, but he decided not to for whatever reason. That's been the only disappointing thing he's done so far since he's gotten to Minnesota.
That guy's got to be rejuvenated, Chris. He does.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah. And so the first game, studied the playbook three days essentially. Gets here, 7 catches, 70 yards. I can't wait to see what a difference he can make later in the year. Hopefully the Vikings offense can figure stuff out. Another guy on offense I want to talk about is Ed Ingram. I like Ed Ingram. I think he's played well at times. I understand he's a rookie, but he was getting beat bad. I mean, he caused, I think, 2 or 3 Kirk sacks. I'd have to look at it and go back and look at the game again. But it just seems like he may not be ready, and the Vikings may want to look at Reed. I don't know about that. What are your guys' thoughts on that, Drew?
I don't understand why it's regressing, because at LSU, his strong point was pass protection.
Yeah.
It was. He was one of the best pass protecting guards in college football. So I don't know. I don't really know whether he's nervous or whether it's a concern right now, but I think Ingram will work past this little flaw, and I think he'll end up being a really solid offensive lineman. Maybe just some adjustments mechanically, but you can't have a guy in there that's going to get beat. You can't get beat as much as he's getting beat. So I would agree with you, Ted.
Chris, are you okay? Do you want to just kind of stick with him, or do you think maybe the Vikings ought to look at a change for the time being?
If Reed is going to be his backup, Reed has been inactive for every game this season. He has seen 0 snaps so far. So I don't know what they're seeing in practice with Ingram. I don't know what they're seeing with Reed in practice. If he's the alternative, I don't know if you're shuffling someone around somewhere else. I mean, like you said, Ingram's had his moments this year so far, and I don't know if it's something he can work through or play through, but I think at some point you have to start exploring the possibility. Yeah.
Now, do we all agree that Ed Ingram is the long-term answer at guard for the Vikings?
Oh, yes.
Chris? Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah, maybe a break just to get himself good mentally. I don't know. He has been regressing, and that's becoming problematic. So let's get to the second half. Drew, okay. You talked about this play earlier. The Vikings defense, I thought, played stellar football in the first half. They made some great open field tackles. They didn't let Washington get anything going. And the second half, I thought, was starting out the same way Washington got the second half kick. It looked like Taylor Heineke, who's given off some serious 2017 Case Keenum vibes to me, goes and throws what looks is going to be, at an absolute minimum, is going to be a knockdown by Cam Bynum. But if you look at the play, that back judge kind of looked at Cam Bynum and just literally ran right into him, knocked him down.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Samuel, a graduate of the Ohio State University, comes down with the ball. Nobody
what?
touches him.
No, wait, why?
He goes into the end zone, and it's 10-7 Vikes. And I was absolutely livid at that point, because stuff like that just seems to happen to the Vikings.
First of all, that referee had Washington in the points, so that's something to. But we've said it a lot of times on this show over the past few weeks, but in past years, that's the kind of thing that would set the snowball rolling downhill for this team.
Right.
And I think it would just get worse and worse. And I know they went 3-and-out on the next series, I think, if I remember right, but it would just snowball downhill with this team. And this year's team doesn't do that. They came back and they said, to hell with this, and they weren't going to let that happen.
Yeah. Drew, when that happened, did you think, here we go again? I mean, because we as Vikings fans, we can almost identify in every single loss a here we go again moment that's going to cause the avalanche of doom.
Ted, when that happened, my exact words were, I can't repeat my exact words, but along the lines of screw me running. Why does this shit happen to us all the time? I mean, when I saw him catch that, I was amazed.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, only the Vikings, there should be a rule put in there for that. When it's that blatant, when the official runs, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but I was getting the sense that, you know what, the Vikings are really outplaying the Commanders at this point, but they're just getting these crucial handful of lucky plays at the right time. And that's what's more frustrating. If you want to lose, you want the other team to beat you. You don't want to have hanging on plays like that. You don't want to lose on a plays like that.
No, you don't.
But it threw into the momentum of Washington, and they did what they had to do off of it. But you know, the first half of I don't think the Vikings are aggressive enough, guys, and that was a problem last year with Kubiak.
After that first drive, I would agree. Yes,
it seems like they get a 7-0 lead, and they're playing not to lose. I know O'Connell's better mind than Zimmer offensively, and I know Wes Phillips is better than Clint Kubiak. But they don't show a sign of wanting to kick your ass on offense. They don't. Man, we took the ball over there when we have a lot of plays that just aren't attacking. I want to attack.
The only game where the Vikings really attacked for most of the first half, or for most of any half, was that game against Chicago. They went right down the field 3 straight times. Right. And they were up, I think, 21-3 at one point in the game. And that's kind of been it. And I'm not saying they're not aggressive. I think they were trying to be aggressive, but the offensive line just had issues today. Most notably, I thought Ed Ingram, Chris, that just didn't allow them to get and push the ball downfield.
Yeah, the interior of the offensive line, I don't know if it was just Ingram, because I thought Ezra Cleveland had his issues, and as good as Garrett Bradbury has looked, he had some issues as well. But that interior of that Washington defensive line is really good.
Yes,
there are a lot of teams that have lots of really good interior defensive lines, and that's something this team's going to have to figure out, because you can't have that many people having a bad game simultaneously if you want to be continuing to advance over the course of the season.
Chris, I want to ask you, what about some of these play calls? The feeble screen pass to the right. Some of these plays are just so terrible that they look like they're just Pop Warner. They're not even, they're plays like, even if you complete the pass, you're not getting anything. They're those kind of plays. And I'm astounded that they run so many of those bad plays.
No, I absolutely agree. And like we said, the screen game is just awful for whatever reason. I'm not sure why that is. I mean, they've spent all this time trying to get quote unquote athletic offensive linemen that you'd think would be able to help execute a screen a little more efficiently than they have been. I said, I can't remember the last decent screen pass this team ran. It's been a long time. And they need to either abandon that part of the thing until they figure out what's wrong with it, or, fix it.
So here's the thing. So we get to the point, it's now 10-7 that the Washington commies score on that. Sorry.
I like it, Chad.
They score on that fluky touchdown pass to Curtis Samuel. Chris, like you said, the Vikes go 3 and out. Washington gets the ball back, and they had a 4th and 1 from midfield. And Drew, in our weekly preview show, we go down our big board and we talk about a whole bunch of different categories, and coaching is one of them. And I took Kevin O'Connell and you took Ron Rivera, and you said, hey, look, Ron Rivera doesn't make stupid in-game mistakes. And I agree with you there. He's a very good coach. But on that 4th and 1, they had like less than a yard, and Washington was doing a pretty decent job running the ball today. And they chose to pass. And Chris, you shouted out at Caleb Evans earlier. He made a hell of a play. I cannot remember who Heineke targeted, but Evans.
It was Terry McLaurin.
And Caleb Evans was all over him, like a bad attitude. And he broke that play up. The Vikings got the ball back, and I really questioned. I was good with it, don't get me wrong, but it felt like Washington should have just ran the ball there and just kept that momentum that they seized after that touchdown.
Oh, no, absolutely. I was shocked that they didn't just slam it into the line, or even just, quarterback sneak it if you have less than a yard to go. They they tried to get a little too cute, and it came back to bite them a little bit.
Yeah. And then, the Vikes can't do anything. They go 3 and out because their offense sucks for like 40 minutes of the game. I don't know what the deal is.
Man, they got to clean that up.
They do. And then Washington gets the ball back and they're marching. And it looked like they were going to hold Washington to a field goal attempt. Zadarius Smith had a big sack on 3rd down, but he was called for face masking. And then Heineke completes a pass, and now it's 17-7. Was this the moment? Did you guys think it's not going to be today?
I did.
Absolutely.
I did. I didn't think we'd come back.
I'm going to tell you right now. After these 6 previous victories, I thought they're not out of this. They're going to come back and they're going to win this football game.
Yeah, more faith than me, man.
I know nobody believes me when I'm saying this. I know nobody, and we're going to get a bunch of comments probably right now saying you're full of crap, Ted. But I truly felt that it's okay. The Vikings are going to come back and win.
People say you're full of crap, Ted, every week, so get used to it.
All right, that's a fair point you bring up. No problem. So it's 17-7. And then the Commanders kick off. Vikings get the ball. It's the end of the 3rd quarter. In the 3rd quarter, the Minnesota Vikings ran 9 plays for 13 yards. 13 yards. And we've talked about this. It's kind of a theme through the show, but that just can't continue if you want to not only get to the playoffs, but win playoff games and get to the ultimate goal of the Super Bowl. You have 9 plays for 13 yards in a quarter, and you do it against a team like Buffalo that's on, or Miami that's on, or Philadelphia that's on, and you're looking at a 21 or 24-0 deficit, I think.
Yep. Yeah, against good teams, you can't survive that kind of thing. I mean, you need to figure out where the issues lie and why it is that, for, like you said, 30 or 40 minutes out of every game, this offense just doesn't show up. I don't understand what the deal is with all the talent they have.
But then, where Jerome Boger's crew taketh away.
That guy sucks.
Jerome Boger's crew giveth. There was the Vikings got the ball back down 17-7. Benjamin St. Juste had a pick 6, and had that stood, it would have been over. I mean, it would have been 24-7, and the Vikes wouldn't have had a chance. But he was called for defensive pass interference. Vikings got the ball. Big, huge play. Kirk hits Justin Jefferson for 47 yards. He absolutely dropped that pass in the bucket. For a guy that was under duress for as much as he was for most of the day, I thought Kirk had a pretty good game, Chris.
He sure did. And he threw that pass when he was getting just hammered, too.
That was the play he got injured on, too, right?
Yeah, he had to sit out the next play because he got hammered on that play. So, but yeah, to know that you're going to get just crushed like that and put that ball where he did, the way he put it there, that was pretty impressive.
I mean, Kirk ended up 22 of 40 for 265 and 2 touchdowns and a pick. Kirk didn't really run a whole lot today, but I thought he moved around in the pocket well enough. But he was under duress, I thought. Other than that first drive, which I thought the Vikings offensive line played very well, he was under duress, I thought, for the rest of the game for the most part.
No, he absolutely was.
Under a lot of pressure, and something you just said, Ted, made me think a little bit. If that pick 6 stands, we're done.
Yeah.
So football is a very fine line of one play to the next. I mean, talk about the crucial handful of plays. If it goes 24-7, I don't think we're going to win that game.
They're not coming back. I don't think they're coming back from that because it's the 4th quarter, and there's I think it's just too much.
But it fell our way. The thing about Cousins is, that the 4th quarter from like 6 minutes on or 8 minutes on, his body language and the way he's running the team, he looks like he's attacking more. He's more confident. Yeah. He's either like that or he's this weird shell of gun shyness where he's throwing screens into the ground. It's weird with Cousins. Why can't he just stay that way all the time?
There's a sense of urgency there that there isn't when you go up 7-0 or 10-0 or even 21-3 against the Bears, like we talked about.
Looks like a different quarterback completely. He's going back.
He does.
Throwing passes over guys' heads, and he's not, just making these. But then when he has to turn it on, when that guy's in a rhythm, he's really, really good.
And
When
that's
he's not
exactly
in the rhythm, he's really, really bad.
that's exactly what happened. He got the Vikings downfield. They kicked the field goal. It's now a 7-point game, 17-10 Washington. And the very next series, the Vikings defense comes up huge. Harrison Smith, Taylor Heineke throws a duck. He was under pressure, and he was under pressure all day too. I thought Daniil Hunter and Zadarius Smith, DJ Wanham did a very good job pressuring Taylor Heineke. He throws an air ball. Harrison Smith picks it off, returns down to the 12, and the Vikings go for the dagger on the first play. Kirk hits Dalvin Cook 12 yards, and man, it's 17-17.
How about that catch, huh?
That was awesome. I mean, for a guy that didn't really do a whole lot on the ground, that was a hell of a catch Dalvin Cook had to tie the game up.
But they were rolling. They had the momentum, and they looked like a team that was ready to step on the other team's throat, which is different from that first quarter team. There can't be that inconsistency. There can't be. They gotta play like that more.
They do.
Because when they attack and they're on and they're confident, man, they're a hard team to beat. But that was a good turning point right there. I'm happy with the D-line, guys. I am.
Oh, yeah.
If they're not getting sacks, they're getting pressures. And you don't always have to get a sack. You can pressure a quarterback into an incompletion or an interception. So the pressures are just as important as the sacks.
One thing we've talked about, and I want to hit this because we have said all season, well, for years, but particularly this season, that the Vikings offense has had issues going on a dagger drive to like put the game away. They score that touchdown on the Cook touchdown pass. Washington comes back out. Daniil Hunter gets another big sack. Washington has to kick the ball away, and I got to look it up. The Vikings, let's see. They start.
It was near midfield, I think.
Yeah, they were on their own 46.
Yeah, after the Rager punt return.
And there's just over 6 minutes. There's like 6 minutes and 12 seconds left. They go on a 15-play, 44-yard drive. That's like straight out of the Big Ten from the 1970s.
Does it get more dagger than that, Ted? That is big dagger. That is dagger.
Yeah, they go 15 plays, 44 yards. They eat up 6 minutes. And although I thought Jerome Boger's ref crew is the worst in NFL history,
they're terrible.
When they kicked that field goal, there was like right at 2 minutes left, just under 2 minutes, I believe. And they called Washington for a personal foul penalty.
What about that?
You can't maul the center. You can't go over him. You got to let him snap the ball. They didn't.
Wow.
And that allowed the Vikings to and I thought the Vikings played very smart football. They didn't, you would think Washington would just let the Vikings score. The Vikings didn't take the bait. They just gave the ball to Dalvin Cook. He protected the ball. He stayed in the center of the field about the 5 or the 6 yard line, burned the clock down because Ron Rivera had that stupid challenge, I thought, and burned his second of 3 timeouts. He only had 1 timeout inside the 2-minute warning. And the Vikings were able to run the clock down to 12 seconds, kick a field goal, and they got out of there with a win.
No, absolutely. I mean, they played that exactly the right way. I mean, I'm sure Washington would have just let them walk into the end zone if they would have tried to push forward. But no, like you said, Rivera managed his timeouts poorly, and he could only stop the clock one more time after the 2-minute warning. So they did it exactly the way they needed to do it, and got Greg Joseph where he wanted to be spotted, and let him come back out and kick another field goal for the win, because that's all they needed to do.
When Washington got that personal foul to put our offense back on the field, were you guys thinking that's the kind of shit that happens to us all the time?
Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Absolutely.
In the
100%.
past. That's the kind of only the Vikings. That's what you would say. It's like, wow, somebody else is doing it, not us.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt.
Oh, I did too. I thought for sure. And so they kicked the field
How do you
goal.
make it? How do you evaluate this game again? We say it every week.
They find a way to win. I mean, like, look, it can be ugly. It can be like trying to flick a booger off your finger and you can't. I get it. I mean, it's not pretty. It's just not. But I would rather be where the Vikings are at 7-1 than I think they were 2-5 at this point last year, and everybody was like, "Oh man, if it was for like 4 different plays, they'd be 6-1." Well, They're 7-1 now, and they're making those plays. I mean, they weren't making these plays last year, and they're making these plays now. I don't know what more you can ask for from this team other than blowing somebody out 50-0 every week. But this isn't college, and that doesn't happen. How
do you guys narrate the fan base who thinks we're not who we are, and the other ones who think, yeah, we're a pretty good team? How do you guys? I mean, the fan base that says the Vikings are doing it with smoke and mirrors aren't sold today. They're not.
Good. Don't be sold. I don't care.
That's how I look at it.
Then go rent and cheer for another friggin' team. I don't care.
You want to spend your time eating dog piss sandwiches? That's fine by me. I'm going to take the wins. I'm going to take the 7-1. I'm going to cheer my team because when they're 1-7, I still have to watch the games. I'm still a fan, but it's torture. I'm enjoying this. I'm not going to look at this as being, oh, the Vikings have a bunch of problems. Sure, they're 7-1. They got a bunch of problems. You're not enjoying the journey, man. Enjoy the trip.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't either.
Why be a fan then if you're going to bitch when they win and bitch when they lose? You're going to bitch all the time. As Ted said on our last studio show, bitch.
I mean, and Ted can speak to this when he was writing for DN and whatever and everything that happened with that. I mean, we had seasons where, you had the 2009 season where you're 13-3 and everything is awesome and everyone's happy and everyone's joking around and whatever. And then you get a couple years later, you're 3-13 and you're one of the worst teams in the league. But, you like you said, we still have to keep watching. We need to keep things interesting. We need to find stuff to talk about. But, there's a level of enjoyment that comes when the team is winning that just isn't there.
Yes.
They're not. I mean, this is a hell of a lot more enjoyable than last year was. I mean,
that's a great point. And people will say, well, the Vikings wouldn't have won that game without the Harrison Smith interception. Well, you know what?
Kidding.
They put the pressure on to get him to throw the shitty pass that got intercepted.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, they caused that interception.
Yes.
That's what ESAT doesn't want to. ESAT Nation doesn't want to give the team credit. They want to say it's all lucky, and the Vikings caused these miscues. They cause them.
Because you know what? Last year, Harrison Smith doesn't make that interception because the defensive line gives Taylor Heineke 4.5 minutes in the pocket to fill out his taxes, call his accountant, decide which guy he wants to throw to, goes through his progressions from right to left to right, up to down to up, and then make a throw.
When are they
not doing that because they're a good friggin' football team?
Yeah! When are the non-believers going to start giving credit to the team rather than saying smoke and mirrors?
Fuck them. I'm so done with the non-believers. Just get out.
Go eat a dog piss sandwich like Chevy Chase.
I'm so done. So done with that garbage.
Oh, we're fired up now. Chris, what do you think? Give us something, Chris.
Oh, no, I mean, I absolutely agree. Why are people so mad?
Because they wanted Jim Harbaugh.
Well, whoop-de-damn-do. They can't have Jim Harbaugh because he went back to Ann Arbor.
Seriously, fans make predictions in April and May, and they go public and they make posts or do whatever. This is what's going to happen to the Vikings. They make these posts. Now, they're making the posts, but then it doesn't go the way they want. I actually think they'd like the Vikings to lose so they don't look bad, rather than having to say, hey, I was wrong. People don't want to say they're wrong. That's why I always say, don't make predictions, Chris, unless you know what you're doing.
Go ahead.
There are some. I don't know if every fan base has these sorts of fans. I mean, I imagine they do, but there are some people that I think the old expression goes, they're not happy unless they're not happy. That's what you see with these folks. I mean, it's like they want to be pissed off about something with this team, and if they're not pissed off, they don't know how to react.
That's well said. What's the chat room feel like, Ted? What's the temperature of the chat room?
Here we go. Here's the comment from our buddy Rhino.
I like Rhino Johnson for Vikings Uncensored.
He says,
great show, by the way.
This is what he says. The Vikings have never been lucky, so the we're just lucky excuse this year doesn't hold any water for me. Thank you. And you know what? There's a difference, and look, there is luck that comes into every game. I'm not going to deny that ref interference on Cam Bynum that was should have been an interception was luck.
Right.
the bad call, was it a bad call? The penalty on the field goal that allowed the Vikings to bleed the clock down to 12 seconds had an element of luck in it. I look, I'm not going to deny that. Plays, guys make catches, balls bounce funny ways, determine whether you recover a fumble or don't. I get it.
Every game has that, though.
Every single game has those. And I will still tell you, good teams make their own luck. You could say the Harrison Smith interception was lucky. That was a well-schemed play.
Yes.
That caused a lot of pressure, that caused Taylor, Case Keenum, Heineke to airmail that ball right into the numbers of Harrison Smith. So is there luck? Could Smith have dropped that like Jackie Smith in the Super Bowl years ago for Dallas? He could have, but he didn't, because he made the play, because good teams find their own luck and they make plays and they go 7-1. And the Vikings now have a better record than the Buffalo Bills heading to Orchard Park next week. So sit on it, Ralph.
You know, it's getting to the point where 3-1 and then 4-1 and then 5-1. ESAT Nation still, they're losing their traction, man. They're losing members, but members are turning around to them saying, "Go to hell. I'm on the 7-1 wagon." They are.
Scott Winters just said, "Fortune favors the prepared," and I think that might be the best quote of the day. Scott Winters, we're going to give away 3 prizes. Now, that's going to
give Scott a mug.
Scott Winters. Hey, Scott Winters, congratulations. That is a great comment. You win a mug. Get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com.
Scott Winters!
You, man, I'm so fired up for this football team. They're 7-1, man, and they have a better record than Buffalo heading to Buffalo next week. Did anybody see that coming 6 weeks ago?
No, and we're going to have a lot to go over with the preview of that game, because that's going to be the Vikings go in there and win. ESAT Nation will evaporate. They have nothing to stand on. The whole thing burns up in hell, Ted. But it does. There will be no ESAT Nation after next week if we pull that Bills game out. But you know what? This Vikings team, whether you want to think it's luck or whether you want to think it's smoke and mirrors, you know what, guys? It's a fun season to be involved. Look at the last 3 seasons we've had to sit through all the gloom and all the bullshit. Oh. This is fun. The Vikings are killing us with these close games, but it's more enjoyable than we've had the last few years.
All right. Let's see. Beresford Elliott asked, "What's ESAT Nation?" Beresford, if you're obviously new to the show, and that's great. I hope you come back for more.
That's Ford Elliott from the group.
I don't think it's Ford. Anyway,
no, that's Ford Elliott from the Gallagher group.
Oh, okay. Ford, that means everything sucks all the time. There's a segment of every fan base. Every fan base has them.
Ohio State has them.
Don't even get me started, amigo. But every fan base has them, that no matter how well their team is doing, something sucks, and the team doesn't. They're not good. They're a fraud. It's all smoke and mirrors. The coach sucks. The GM sucks. Key player 1, 2, 3, 4 through 7 suck. Everything sucks all the time. And those people are energy jackasses, man. They're just not worth your time. They're not worth your effort. Just shake, like Taylor Swift says, shake it off. Shake it off. Just take those people to the side, because they're not worth the energy anymore. They just aren't. Enjoy 7-1, man. Enjoy it.
A Taylor Swift reference, really, Ted?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's so well said, man.
Players going to play.
Yeah, losing momentum by the day, because
the
Vikings keep figuring out how to win these games, and I am on board, like you said, Ted, last week on our show. I am on board with this team. That's what you said, and I am. You know, we have a little bit of reservation in the back of our mind about what's going on. What are we really seeing? But you know what? We're seeing the elimination of gloom in a team culture, and we're seeing a team coming together who's starting to believe in what's going on. They're starting to believe in O'Connell, believe in each other. They're listening to Zadarius Smith, who is the best free agent signing in all of football. And
I could get on board with that right now. Sure.
And we have the Vikings are rolling, and I'm happy for them. They just gotta work out some kinks, though. They don't play an A game the whole way. So,
and as long as we're bringing out comments, I just see one from Stuart Anderson here that just says, "Yeah, if you can't enjoy this, you can't enjoy anything."
Yeah,
And I think
exactly.
Yeah.
What's going to make you happy if 7-1 doesn't make you happy?
Right.
I don't get it.
Right.
Stuart Anderson is right. That's a great comment.
So, when the Vikings were like 2-1 or 3-1, I think it was fair to question whether or not this was a good team. Those folks had a legitimate point because they won a couple of close games, games they hadn't won in the past. But man, at some point you just have to accept the fact that this is a good team and this is how they play and this is how they win. And man, enjoy the ride. I don't know what else to tell you. If you can't enjoy this after several years of the Vikings being mediocre to flat out bad, then I don't know. Go watch basketball or hockey or something. I don't know.
And I see a lot of posts along the same lines. I'm happy the Vikings are 7-1, but
yeah,
don't just stop.
Yeah. Look,
because you're a butt.
Are there things the Minnesota Vikings could do better? Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could, but I think when you look across the league, Buffalo lost to the Jets today. The only undefeated team still is Philadelphia, and you could argue luck is coming to play for a couple of their wins. There's no team that is just unbeatable, I don't think. Now the Vikings are going to have to play very well next week to be able to beat Buffalo. They're going to have to play very well to beat Philadelphia should they meet again. They're going to have to play very well to meet some other teams in the AFC like Kansas City or whoever in the West. But this is not a bad football team. This is not a fluky football team. This is a good football team that figures out how to get the W at the end of the game. And you no longer can discount that. You just can't.
Right.
If you want to discount that, go ahead, but you're an idiot.
Pretty much. Absolutely.
You're an idiot.
Ted Glover, man, he brings it every week, doesn't he?
All right.
Man, it's a good time to be a Vikings fan. That's all I know.
It is. Ruby, you if you're out there, I'm wondering if you might be ready to spin the wheel twice for actually the second and third prize we're going to give away today.
We are in a giving mood.
Oh, gee, Drew interrupting me. Shocking. All right.
Oh, my God.
We have a crazy amount of people on the wheel today.
There's a lot of names on there.
Wow. Holy shit. Look at that
awesome.
thing, Ted.
That's awesome.
All right. Here's the first one.
I like the noise.
Todd Taylor.
I believe Todd. I don't remember calling that name before. So Todd, congratulations again. Get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com. She'll give you a link to the VR prize vault to go ahead and pick your prize. Go ahead and spin that wheel one more time, Ruby.
Good job, Todd Taylor.
Dan Henneman.
Dan Henneman.
Dano.
Long time listener. First time caller, Dan Henneman.
Very supportive to the show. He always plays in our contests. He's very Dan Henneman. Good job, man. I'm glad for you, man.
Dan, this isn't your first rodeo. You know what to do.
You do know what to do.
Boys, we've been talking about this for a while now, and I'm thinking we should probably close up shop here in a quick minute. So let's wrap things up. Drew, give me your final thoughts on today's game. Do you want to do a game ball today?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Give me your game ball then. We'll get out of here with that.
I'm going to go with a Caleb Evans.
Okay.
Him and TJ Hawkinson, they each get one.
Okay.
They're guys that were thrown in there, and Caleb Evans hasn't played a lot, but he made some huge tackles like Chris Gates had mentioned. And Hawkinson is just, you're going to like that guy. Those are my two.
All right. Any other thing to wrap it up?
Yeah, I'd like to say that last year, let's not forget where we were at. This is a team full of gloom. This is a team where the coaching staff was full of gloom. Everything was bad. Everything was off the rails. Spielman was a joke. He was a fraud.
Yeah.
Spielman, Zimmer, the whole franchise was in really a disarray. And look what they've done so far.
Rick Spielman traded for Chris Herndon. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah traded for TJ Hawkinson.
I got nothing else.
That pretty much sums it
I'm
up.
ending on that. I got nothing else. There you go. I just want people tend to forget. They tend to forget last year. Look at last year and look at this year. If you're not happy, go eat a dog piss sandwich.
Go watch college field hockey or something, man. I don't know what to tell you.
This team is on their way.
They are. Chris?
And like Drew said, there were so many people that could have gotten game balls: Evans, Hawkinson, Cousins, Jefferson, Zadarius Smith. There is so many guys playing at a high level for this team right now. And, like you said, this time last year, this team had 2 wins. Now they have 7. And it's really hard to argue that things are bad right now.
Right.
I mean, you really can't make that argument anymore.
You can't. I can't disagree with the Caleb Evans and TJ Hawkinson. I thought for getting put in the positions they were in, Hawkinson just coming in the last minute after the trade on Tuesday. Evans coming in for an injured Cam Dantzler. Something we'll have to watch. Dantzler was injured. He did not come back. Garrett Bradbury was injured. He did come back, so I think he'll be okay, but something to monitor and then for this week leading up to the Buffalo game. Tremendous games from both those guys. Vikings figured out a way to do it. Our prize winners, once again, hit Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com to contact Ruby to get a link to the prize vault. Congratulations. I believe it was Todd and Dan. And I can't remember the name of the individual we gave the prize to for that great comment earlier.
Todd Taylor.
Todd Taylor. Thank you very much. I'm so fired up with this team. I probably was kind of a little over the top today, so my bad on that one.
No, dude, you always bring the passion,
right.
Ted. Come on, Ted, you bring the passion. You're a real fan, and you're digging it right now. There's no reason to pull back from that. Let it go, baby. Let it go.
That's what she said. Drew and I will be back next Friday with Vikings Report with Drew and Ted to preview the Bills game.
Yes.
We'll have our season fantasy football and Super Toe Challenge contest continued. Drewster's Millions continues. We'll cover any Vikings news. Drew, Chris, Ruby, and I will be back next Sunday after the Vikings-Bills game. Hopefully it'll be an 8-1 Minnesota Vikings team we're talking about, but that's going to be a tough game, folks.
Hey, what time is that game on?
I don't know right now off the top of my head. I think it's a late game, but I don't know.
Okay.
Chris, do you know?
I thought it was a noon Central kickoff, but I'm not 100% sure either.
Here we go. Vikings-Bills, noon. Yeah, noon Central next Sunday.
I think it's the Dallas game the week after that. That's a late game.
Okay. So the Vikings we'll be on live right after the Bills Vikings game next Sunday. 7-1 Vikes, 6-2 Bills. NFL game of the week, in my opinion. For Drew, for Chris, for the absolute magician Ruby, who makes this all happen. Without her, none of this would even be possible.
Meow, meow.
I'm Ted Glover.